When you first read the script and read the character, what did you like the most and you want to be in this movie?
Well, I thought that the characters were very complicated. You know, they none of them are black and white. They all seemed like they have all the characters had a lot of paradoxes in them. They're doing good things. They're doing bad things. They're working with each other, working against each other. It's very complex. So there was that, and then I also really liked I liked Tony Gilroy's writing a lot. So that was a big draw.
Jason Bourne is in Manhattan.
Confirmed.
What?
That's all I have. Gotta go.
People, listen up. This is a national security emergency.
The FBI is investigating links between Treadstone and this man, Jason Bourne.
You have very few scenes with Jeremy, but how was working with him as well?
Great. I mean, you know, the one scene we had, I'm kind of lecturing him, so it was a simple scene in some ways, but he's got a really great emotional intelligence, and I think he's very. I like I like the way he works a lot. He's very serious about it.
What do you think? This is the last series of Bourne series, and how would you describe any different than the previous ones?
I think it's very consistent. For people who like that series, it's going to feel like a really exciting chat. It's like another chapter, but I think what's new about it is obviously it widens out from the events of the last film and starts to introduce you to these characters who are interconnected with the other story. It's very clever the way that Tony's done it. It's very smart.
I gave them everything. We both did.
You acted in a big budgeted action movies, 3 of them last year. So does it make you an action man in your real life? How do you cope with it?
No, I'm not that sort of guy. I'm an active individual, but you know, I'm not a guy. No, that's an opportunity to have a lot of fun and do things I probably would never get to do in life. So that's an exciting part of my job, I suppose.
It's Aaron Cross. We have never seen evaluations like this. He's Treadstone without the inconsistency.
I've never met anybody in the program.
So how many of us are there?
How would you describe your character in the movie? What kind of character is he? What is his challenges?
Challenges are, wow. I mean, that's more circumstances within the movie. He's an agent that's birthed out of another program, like Jason Bourne was to Treadstone. Aaron Cross comes from another program called Outcome, who came from military background and then joins this program willingly, and things get pulled away, and you know that's when things go awry.
How was your experience during the shooting? You shot in different locations. You went to Philippines, and you had to jump into cold water. There were a lot of challenging scenes. How was your experience?
Every day, smile on my face for the most part. Enjoying what I was doing and the opportunity that I had before me every day was great challenges, and in the bigger picture of it's such a great honor to be a part of such filmmaking that I'm a big fan of. It's the most fun I've had on 2 feet in a very long time, and I'm very thankful for that.
You need what?
Meaning we will burn the program to the ground.
The history of the science.
Well, I'm not just a science project.
How would you describe the character of Martha?
Martha is very driven. She's a workaholic. She hasn't managed to keep a relationship going or have a child. She's just working. And she is, driven, very driven.
How was working with Jeremy? There were a lot of action scenes in the movie.
Yeah, I loved working with Jeremy. We had a really good connection, very good rapport. We like to work in a similar way. Neither of us like to sit around talking about acting. We like to just do it and not analyze it too much. And yeah, I mean, we had to do a lot of action things together, and I had to trust him because he drove a motorbike that I was holding on to, and it was very, very terrifying stunt work. So yeah, I had to trust him in many ways, and I think I found a friend, and he's a very good man, very good man.
How was the motorcycle chase scene? You had to kick the bad guy with the helmet and kick him in the head afterwards. How was it? Did you prepare for that part especially? It was pretty challenging.
I mean, we just rehearsed. I just did it again and again and again and again until we got it right, because there's not many places you can practice hitting a guy off a motorbike. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I got the helmet part right, but not the kick, and sometimes I got the kick part right, but not the helmet, and so I was kind of all over the place. But finally, I got it right, and that's what's in the film.
What did you like the most about the story?
I like the fact that these two people, my character and Jeremy Renner's character, are thrown together by circumstance, and that they really don't like each other very much at the beginning. And you know, I've been experimenting, if you like, on Jeremy's character, and I don't even know his name. He's just number 5. But we end up together, and we end up forming connection, and he can't stay alive without me, and I can't stay alive without him, and it's a very unusual date.
Weisz, he's cramped.
Oh, that has healed well.
What do you think that we do out there, Doc?
Do you think meeting with him transformed the character of Martha?
Definitely, because she's very morally compromised in what she's doing, and she's very blinkered about what she's doing, and he forces her to wake up and smell the roses and figure out that what she's doing is not ethical. So yeah, I think he changes her a lot.
Yes, sir. There is nothing that you wouldn't do for this country. You have the strength to do what's necessary.
How is he?
He's cramped.
Oh, that has healed well.
What do you think that we do out there, Doc?
You were a writer for the last series, or the Bourne, and this time you directed as well. How was it different this time?
Directing is just always different. It wasn't something that I ever thought I would do. I wasn't really, I sort of left there as a writer, and I never thought that I would come back in any capacity. We found a cool idea and sort of followed it a little bit, and at a certain point it just gets so interesting that you don't want to let it go. And as a writer, I've had a chance to direct 2 other pictures, and I know what it takes to make the movie, so it has to be very interesting because it's going to take a lot of your time. And so it got to the point where this idea got interesting enough and the character got interesting enough that I finally then just didn't want to let it go.
He's an outcome agent.
He's Treadstone without the inconsistency. We have never seen evaluations like this.
What would you say to the audience? How was it different than the previous series of Bourne?
The character is very different. Aaron Cross is very different than Jason Bourne. I mean, they're cousins in a way. I guess that's the easiest way to say. They're both badass. They're both tough. They're for different programs. Aaron Cross has been, the program that he's in is called Outcome, and it's a very different assignment. They're not assassins. They're sort of warrior spies who go very deep under, submerge themselves into places, and so. There's an element of intelligence and curiosity and social engineering that they're part of, and also Jason Bourne can't remember who he is. His whole struggle was to find out who he was. Aaron Cross, Jeremy Renner's character, knows exactly who he is and was and where he came from, and is very desperate not to go back there, and that's his problem. So they're cousins, but they're very different.
What was the challenges to shoot in Manila?
Man, everything. It's, everything. Streets, controlling the streets, the weather, getting places. It's a very, very complicated city, a very tough place to work, and we're working out in public on the streets. We wanted the streets. I mean, everything about it was was really tough. The one thing that made it possible is the people were so great. The people there are just remarkable, and so we were welcomed everywhere we went, even when we were disrupting people's neighborhoods and their lives for weeks and weeks on end, and closing down roads. And people were very, very. The people made it possible. Otherwise, it would have been absolutely impossible to do it.
What was your greatest moment when you were shooting the movie? You were like, oh, this is the moment I was waiting for.
The moment I was waiting for is nothing big, it's nothing explosive, it's nothing crazy. The moment for me is there's a scene between Jeremy and Rachel in a motel room. And it's a very, very quiet scene. It's a very important scene in the movie, and we struggled to get it just right. And when we finally shot that scene and went back the next day and looked at what we had, it was like, well, it's so small, it's so the opposite of, it's nothing grand, but it was that little thing between the two of them to realize that was in our movie. That's when I knew that we were that's when I knew that we had something that I would be pleased with.